though I'm talking to you all facing the camera, I hope you don't mind. So I'm Assemblyman Jeff Dinowitz. I'm joined by Councilmember Eric Dinowitz, Community Board Aide Chair Laura Spalter, and many community members, community leaders here. And we wanted to talk about the road diet that was recently installed here on Riverdale Avenue from 254th Street until the city line of 263rd. And I want to recognize the efficiency of DOT in this one instant, because somehow they managed to mill the road on August 22nd, I believe, pave it that same week on August 26th, and then the next week do all this painting of the crosswalks and the lane markings and so on. So in a week and a half time, they milled, they paved, and they painted. So we know that when they want to do that, they are capable of doing it. Yet somehow, every other project in our community, it takes weeks and even months for that to happen. For example, they milled Kingsbridge Avenue, where my office is, I think early in July, and they paved it, I believe it was early in August, and here we are approaching mid-September, and there's not a single crosswalk, there's nothing, no WL lines, nothing, no painting on the ground. And that's typical of what DOT does, and it's unfortunate. They milled Broadway around the 231st Street area several weeks ago. I think it was a year or two ago. They milled Henry Hudson Parkway service roads, first one side, then the other. And then it took about a month, I think, for them to pave it. The point I'm trying to make is that DOT somehow has miraculously found a way to do milling, paving, and painting in a week and a half time. Now, why is that? Why is that? Are they suddenly geniuses at DOT? Are they suddenly extremely efficient? Or perhaps is it that when the ideologues who are pushing this particular type of program want to do something, they manage to get it done? And that's fine if they can be efficient, but it would be really great if they show that same efficiency for things that people actually want in the community. Now, we've debated the issue of whether this road diet is a good thing or a bad thing. Hundreds of people from the community have spoken out on it. They came to community board meetings and committee meetings, and the opinion of the community was nearly unanimous in opposition. And it wasn't because, I don't think a single person opposed the bike lanes. I don't oppose bike lanes. It was more because people are very concerned about how it's going to impact traffic. And we're worried that tomorr's the first day of public school. I'm going to come back here tomorrow and look to see how things are working out, because we know typically at PS 81, cars are double parking and triple parking on the northbound side and double parking on the southbound side during the special time. It's not so great during drop-off time either in the morning. And I'm wondering how that's going to work and how cars are going to manage to avoid the single northbound lane over here, either in the morning or in the afternoon. Now, I don't think it's okay for cars to go on the pavement markings or in the opposite bound lane. I sure hope that the city doesn't think it's okay, but I'm not sure how we're going to avoid that. Some might say, well, we need greater enforcement by NYPD. Well, that's easy to say, but I think that that's not going to happen. It hasn't happened for the past 2.5 years, and they may have bigger fish to fry. So people are very concerned about that, and it's not only PS 81, it's also St. Margaret's and other locations from the stretch north of 254th Street. I think what it comes down to is that the community isn't always right, but the community deserves to be heard and listened to. And this oh, look at that. There's only one lane of northbound traffic, so the ambulance had to go in the opposite bound traffic lane. That's a problem. About 15 minutes ago, we had a similar situation where there was a car in the northbound lane, but the ambulance went into the left turn lane because it had to, and made a right turn around the car, which fortunately didn't proceed. If only there were 2 lanes there. So I think the real bottom line is that the community likes to be heard, listened to, and have their points of view taken into account. And it appears that that was never the intention of the agency, that they had already decided that this is what was going to be, no matter what people in the community said. And the fact that I don't think anybody, I mean, well, Laura can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think anybody or virtually nobody spoke out against it, in favor of it rather, and yet they went on to proceed. Now we met with, a councilman and I met with DOT officials a few months ago on 259th and Riverdale Avenue, and one thing I noticed, since one of their selling points was this left turn lane, during the 45 minutes to an hour that we were standing there talking, not a single car going southbound made a left turn. So that left turn lane is like ice in the winter. It does nothing for us. One thing we've asked for consistently, because we think that safety is the #1 issue, is installing left turn signals both here at West 256th Street and West 259th Street for northbound traffic. That would clear traffic, it would make it safer for people, and they never even considered that. They should have done that first and then see if they thought that there were other safety measures necessary. But instead they did things backward, and they may never do that. And if you also notice, the distance to cross from one side of Riverdale Avenue to the other has not changed 1 inch, not even a centimeter. Meaning that I'm not sure how safety is improved if the crossing distance is the same, and I'm not suggesting they narrow the street. So this is, I believe, sort of an ideological bent that that this road diet is always good in all cases. Maybe it's good in many cases. I'm not going to argue that. I'm just concerned right now about this location and about the traffic and about the fallout in our community. So I've talked a lot, and I have a lot more to say, but I'm not going to say it because there are other people who have things to say. So the next person will be our council member, Eric Dinowitz.
Good morning, I'm council member Eric Dinowitz. Like the assembly member, I was astounded with the efficiency by which this project was done. It was very impressive. I went away on vacation, and a week later I came back and the road was all new. It was paved, it was beautiful, the paint was down, which tells me that when the DOT wants to do something, then they do it. They can do it. When the DOT wants to do something, they do it. Which tells me something else. When something's not done, it's because the DOT does not want to do it. And it is very clear by just this project alone that there are things the DOT simply does not want to do. And that includes listening to the community. And as my friend back here said, he said, what's the point of community meetings and public meetings if you don't listen to the public? So what don't they want to do? You know, as was mentioned, this community meeting, I asked a question. I said, well, if your data say 58% of the injuries occur on turns, have you considered turn calming measures? And they said, oh, we have those along the corridor. I said, really? I haven't seen this. We have them along the corridor. It's on the video. You can all check. Surprise, surprise, there are no turn calming measures along the corridor. There are no turn signals along the corridor, which would improve safety. If they wanted to listen to the community, they would have put a turn signal right there and at 259th Street. They do not want to. If you look here, you'll see bus pads that look atrocious. They have no interest in paving and redoing the bus pads. They have interest in this, in their ideology, and that is it. The bus pads are still atrocious, and it's dangerous for someone getting on and off the bus. If you go along this street and you look right here, this isn't even the bad one. ADA compliance is atrocious from 254th Street to the Yonkers line. You cannot get from this side of the street to the shopping center on the other side of the street. It is a curb. There is a crosswalk, there's a light, and no ramp. I'm not even talking about the nice new ones with the bumps. It's a curb. Not even this one, which needs to be redone. It is a curb. It is impassable for someone in a wheelchair, dangerous for someone with a walker, difficult for someone with a big stroller. They waited until the end of the summer. We've heard about double parking here for parents. Parents who are dropping their kids off and picking their kids up from school. That's how it is. There's a lot of kids at school here, and the DOT waited until the end of the summer to have a conversation with the school, because by need, drop-off is going to change. When I asked the DOT about this, I said, what are cars going northbound going to do with all the double parked cars? You're not going to believe. DOT told me, oh, the northbound traffic should swerve around the double parked cars into the median. Yeah, I'd be laughing too if it weren't dangerous. And I couldn't believe I was hearing from a Department of Transportation official say out loud that traffic should swerve around double parked cars into the center median to go around the traffic. And what we have been asking for months is collaboration. And every single time I met with the DOT, I asked, have you met with the schools? Have you met with the schools? Have you met with the schools? We have 3 of them along this corridor. And they waited until the end of the summer to meet with this school. First day of school tomorrow. I wish the school had more time to plan and more time to provide their input. But unfortunately, we are dealing with an agency that has zero interest in taking into account community concerns and is very, very adept at getting done what they want to get done, as well as ignoring any of the legitimate requests from the community, like ADA compliance, turning signals, turn calming measures, and collaboration with our local schools. So we're calling on the DOT to take into account actual community concerns and to be a collaborative partner in projects or proposed projects instead of completely ignoring the community, which is what they did in this case. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to mention we have several members of our community board here. I see David Gelman, Marty Wolkoff, Rosemary Gimpy, I saw Lisa Dow, Myra Joyce, Chris Calhoun. So we have at least 7 members of our community board here. But we also, including among them, is the chair of the board, Laura Spalter.
Hi. Hi. The Traffic and Transportation Committee voted against this plan. The full board voted against this plan. Repeatedly, the board and the elected officials asked for documents, data, traffic study. How did they proceed with this plan? We got bupkis. About a few weeks ago, we got 4 screenshots that gave us virtually no information. It was not a study. It was not a traffic plan. It was not what we expected. We spoke with DOT, and the DOT has agreed to come to a meeting on September 15th. It will be held at St. Margaret's School. You may ask, but it's already done. It's already down. However, we asked the community to please give us feedback on these plans. We are, as you use Riverdale Avenue, we are concerned about 254th Street with the traffic going in all different directions around the school dismissal and school opening day. We are concerned about the transition. Where is it? What is it? Coming from Yonkers, where there are 4 lanes, where they have to then come into the Bronx, where it goes down to only 2 travel lanes. This kind of pinch points all over the plan. We need to study it. We need to report it. We need to let the community board and elected officials know. We need to come to the meeting at St. Margaret's School on September 15th to give our feedback to DOT, the representative who will be attending. I want to thank you for being here, and I hope that we'll continue to monitor this plan. And since it is just paint, maybe in a year it could be reevaluated. Has it been successful? Is it a failure? Why? Why not? We need the community's input and feedback on a regular basis on this. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. We have with us the president of the Riverdale Gardens Tenant Association. That's Riverdale Gardens right over there. And that's Barbara Connolly.
Riverdale Gardens is right across the street from PS 81. Our tenants are concerned about the removal of 2 lanes of traffic on Riverdale Avenue. In the morning, parents are dropping off their children, and girls sometimes end the day, they're waiting to pick them up. Their mothers are running in the summer to the air conditioning. And in the winter, it's the heating. Those fumes go up into the tenants that live right across the street. A lot of our tenants have asthma and some medical problems. They worry about that. Also, 256th Street has 4 garages that enter onto 256th Street. The traffic comes down and merges onto Riverdale Avenue. Also, the traffic from Skyview is coming down to merge. How are they going to merge into one lane? I mean, it's ridiculous. We have a back drive that exits onto Riverdale Avenue going south. The co-op on the other side on 254th Street has a garage that enters and exits onto Riverdale Avenue. In the morning, how are those cars going to get onto Riverdale Avenue with one lane of traffic? It just boggles my mind how anybody could think this would work and be safe. I sincerely hope it does work. 5 years ago, we told them not to do it. We just asked for a delayed green turning light to turn up here, but they didn't listen to us. So I hope and pray that this works and it saves lives of the children, elderly people trying to cross, and there's no traffic accidents. The people getting hysterical and not wanting to wait a half an hour to get up one block. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we have a lot of people here, but I think we would take questions if anybody has any from the media.
I got one. Sachi, Riverdale Press. Has DOT indicated it'll do an impact study once the road diet plan's been finalized, like a year after, 2 years after?
They, as far as I know, they have not done that. In fact, we had trouble getting from them information on the data that they had on past accidents. I think at some point, very late in the game, well after the community board meetings, we got some data on accidents, on injuries, and what we didn't get was one accident, one death certainly is way too many, no question about it. But we didn't get any real information on how this corridor compares with others where they're not doing this, and why they chose this. So we've gotten a fair amount of information. In fact, we didn't receive the plan, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think 1 or 2 people in the community who are working with DOT got the plan in advance, but we got it literally at the 11th hour prior to the open meetings that the community board held. So information has not been particularly forthcoming. Maybe they'll improve themselves, since they obviously improved their ability to pave and paint in recent weeks.
Stacy?
Hi, Stacy from Press. This has been at least for a week. It's not official, I guess, but they were doing outlines for at least a week. Has anybody observed what was happening in that week?
I was here a couple of times. I know that sometime last week, I don't know what day, I saw the outline, and I know on Friday it was done already. In fact, when I first saw the outline, it was a little confusing at first, and most people might find changes a little confusing, no question. But there hasn't, Labor Day weekend, for example, there's not that much traffic. I think the true test will be when traffic increases. So tomorrow, for example, would be a good day to observe and see how, how we're dealing with the traffic at PS 81 or at St. Margaret's, which I think started school today, actually. Not to mention, cars going in and out of Skyview Shopping Center, but it's new. So, once school starts and people are back from vacation, traffic increases, and that'll be the true test.
Question. Okay, I live in Riverdale Park. My windows face Riverdale Avenue. 2 o'clock every day when school is open, they line up, double parked, waiting for their kids to come out on both sides of the street. What makes me nervous is what happens now, God forbid there's a fire. Where does the fire truck go? Where does the ambulance go? Also, Don't get me wrong, I'm a parent myself. But a lot of these parents stand over there, come on, come on, come on, and the kids run across in the middle of the street. I mean, this is insane. This is waiting for a major child, not even an adult, but a child to be hit and killed. This is absolutely unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Other questions from the media? I would point out one other thing. The Sasha, you asked a question about information studies. The Assembly member mentioned that there was a group that saw the plan, a community group, saw the plan. In my view, was at the expense of the community board, the community board, as a courtesy, and even that community group also had concerns. They originally supported a plan, a road diet, but they had similar concerns about pickup and drop off. And even the group that was supportive of this plan ultimately did not endorse it and had concerns that were not addressed by the DOT. Again, because it wasn't their plan to begin with. They were always going to come in with the plan, and they were always going to do it this way, despite any concerns about the community or suggestions from the community. Yeah, Stacey?
Maybe it was like a month ago, Laura, you spoke to the MTA about the railing, and they said it's going to be a problem, and then like a month later they said it's not a problem. Did you ever find out why?
Well,
How is it going to affect the buses?
The MTA railing had not been briefed on this plan and was concerned that if there's congestion and pinch points that the passengers are going to miss their train. You only have like a minute or two to scramble. So it remains to be seen. Then my conversations with DOT said that the plan has been approved at the high levels of MTA. The plan has been approved. So it remains to be seen what happens.
Okay, other questions from
She was concerned, she's still concerned, but it's a done deal and time will tell.
I just want to point out that a few days ago, what's today? Wednesday? A few days ago, I drove up here. I set my cruise control for 25 because I would hate to exceed the speed limit. And it happened, there was a bus behind me, so the cruise control was not necessary. And we were just creeping along. Now, I think I was on Labor Day, so there weren't a whole lot of buses. I'm just wondering what's going to happen because we have the 7 bus, the 10 bus, the 1, 2, and 18 express buses, plus the rail link. That's 6 different types of buses on here. Not everybody likes to be stuck behind a bus, so I think what people do in those cases could be an issue.
Other from the media? Any other questions from the media? All right, thank you all so much for your time. We're going to do the media questions. So so thank you so much. Thank you so
We'll do
much.
one-on-one, okay?
We'll talk afterwards.
Now, it's
Thank you so
general
much.
question. What is the budget for design and study for the DOT in light of the fact that they have a one-size-fits-all plan for every place in the city?
They went to Bed Bath & Beyond and bought a cookie cutter, and that's the plan. It's the same everywhere, regardless of the specific circumstances of...
I told you it was a good question.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.